What's going on, everyone? You are welcome to Webcrony Online YouTube channel. In the last tutorial, we developed this beautiful contact saving app using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. This beautiful web app has a couple of functionalities such as adding new contacts and searching through contact list. In today's tutorial, we will take it further by incorporating new functionalities such as adding contacts with condition, deleting contact, and if we still have some time, we will work on editing contact. Today's tutorial depends so much on the previous tutorial. In view of this, I highly recommend you check the previous tutorial completely before continuing with this one for a much better understanding. If you already have, then let's begin. But before we do that, make sure you are subscribed to this channel, and if you haven't, click on the subscribe button to do so now. Okay guys, so we already have the app running, so I'll just quickly take you through it one more time before we go ahead to add our new functionality. So coming to the create2.js, which is the JavaScript file responsible for adding new contact, we declared a new variable called contact list, and we assigned it value from a search in our local storage. The local storage is something your browser has which enables you to store data on your local machine. What I mean by your local machine is your computer or your mobile device or any device you are using to access this particular app. Okay, so the items in the local storage have what we call the key and then the value. But then if we want to search for data from the local storage, we find it by the key, and the key that we assign to this particular contact list is called contact1. Okay, so we want to check if this particular contact exists. If it exists, then assign it to the contact list, otherwise assign an empty array. Now we also fetch the button from the HTML file, which is a button with the class name SaveBTN. After that, we created a function which is responsible for adding a new contact, and what we did is very simple. We first of all obtained the data from the form, and after finding out whether the values are all defined, we created a new contact, and then after creating the new contact, we added it to the contact list. After adding it to the contact list, we saved it to the local storage. We sent an alert indicating that the contact has successfully been stored, and then we redirected to the home page. But then if one of these data is not provided, then we send an alert saying provide data for all fields. Now what we are going to do is that before we can store the data, we want to find out if the contact already exists. So what I'll do is that I'll first of all clear a couple of things from the add contact function, so I will leave only the obtaining values part. Okay, and then I will also add certain comments which will be the roadmap of what we are going to do. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to find out if contact already exists. Okay, let me just make the correct spellings. Alright, so after finding out if the contact already exists, what I'm going to do next is that if the contact exists, send a message. Otherwise create a new contact object, then push it to the contact list. Then after that, save it to the local storage. After that, send an alert indicating successful addition, and then finally redirect to the home page. Okay, so let's do just that. Successful. Okay, so let's begin by finding out if the contact already exists. So we will use the find method for this particular exercise, and we will also use the logical or operator to find out if the name and the number exist. So let's do that. So I'll just say const contact equal to, I'll call the contact list dot find, and inside this I want to find a contact. So I'll bring in my arrow function and say if contact dot name is equal to, I'll use the template literal, so I'll bring in the backticks and say $, opening and closing curly bracket, first name, and then I'll give space and also bring in the $, opening and closing curly bracket, and then last name, like this. If this one fails, then check. So I'll bring in my OR operator and say contact dot email is equal to email. Don't worry, I will explain everything to you one more time after everything. Or contact dot phone equal to phone. Okay, so we are done with the part that will find out if contact exists. Okay, so now we come to the part that says if contact exists, send a message. So I'll bring in an if statement here, and I'll say if contact, meaning we found something from our find method. Okay, so if contact alert into bracket contact already exists. Then we'll come into the otherwise part, so we bring in our else. So let me push this one into the else. So the else, I'll create the new contact. So const new contact equal to, so name equal to, I'll bring my backticks, the $, opening and closing curly brackets, I'll take the first name and the last name, so the $, again, and then last name, like this. Then I'll take the phone and I'll also take the email. Okay, then after that we will push. Okay, so this one must also come inside of the else block, so I'll bring it in here, and then I'll say contact list dot push into bracket new contact, like this. It should be out of the object, like this. So afterwards I will also save it to the local storage, so I will say local storage dot set item, and the name that I wish to assign is the contact one, like this, and the data that I wish to assign is the, I'll just bring in the JSON dot stringify. You have to stringify it before you can store it, and what I want to stringify is the contact list, like this. Okay, so now that everything is successful, I can go ahead and send in the alert. So I will say alert into bracket contact stored successfully. Then also I'll redirect to the home page, so I'll say window.location.href equal to /index2.html. okay, so now the work is done. Now let me take my time and walk you through it one more time. So what's going on here is that we have a function called add contact, and inside this function we are taking the values of the form, okay, and the form has a first name, a last name, phone, and email. Now let me show you the form real quick. When I go to create new contact, you see we have the first name, the last name, the phone, and then the email. So this, the input that we obtain from this form, is what we are obtaining here in this add contact function. Okay, so now when we have all this information, we want to find out if the contact already exists. So this is what we want to do. We'll use the find method, and inside the find method we will take a contact, and what happens here is that this contact is just each item inside of the contact list. Okay, each item inside of the contact list. So each item of the contact list is to check if there is a contact that bears the name that we have assigned, okay, or we have obtained as values from here. If it doesn't find anything, then it will find out if there is a contact which has an email which is exactly equal to the email that we have obtained from the form. And if it doesn't find anything, it will also check if we have a contact which has a phone which is equal to the one we have obtained inside of the form. Okay, so this is how we do it. Now it will return just the first contact that matches the description that we have given here, and we are using the OR operator, meaning that at least one of them should turn out to be true. So if it finds something, it will assign it to this contact. If it finds nothing, then this contact here will be undefined. Okay, so now we are here and we say that if contact is defined, that is, if this particular find method found something, then we cannot add the user. We should send an alert which says that user already exists. Okay, but then if this contact is not defined, it means that we can go ahead and add it. Okay, so we will create a new contact using the data that we obtained from the client. This one must be out of the object. Okay, and after creating the object, we should push the object to the contact list. After pushing it to the contact list, we should store it in our local storage with the key name contact1. And after doing that, we should send an alert which indicates that the contact has successfully been added, and after that we should redirect the page to the home page. Okay, so now it's time for us to test. So I come here and then let's try to add something. Okay, now there is a problem, and the problem is that we didn't check whether contact information is given. Okay, so let's do just that. So as you can see, it has been added here as blank. Okay, but then we will fix it in a moment. But in the meantime, let's just go back home here, and then I'll just copy this number so that it can match the description. So I have Sam as the first name, I have Smith as the second name. I'll just paste the phone right here, and the email will be samsmith@gmail.com. okay, so now when I try to save, it sends a message that the contact already exists. Okay, so no matter what I do, I cannot save this contact because it matches the description of a contact that has already been added. Okay, so now if I add an extra character here and then click save, it tells me that the contact has been stored successfully, and when I click OK, it will redirect me to the home, and the Sam Smith shows right here. Okay, Great. So now let's fix the issue of saving blank things. Okay, so what we can do is that we can first of all check the values if they are not undefined before we can find the contact. So let's do just that. So I'll say if into bracket there is no first name or there is no last name or there is no email or there is no phone, then I'll just send an alert. So I'll put in the alert here which says provide data for all fields. Okay, then I'll come to the else, and inside the else I'll push everything here into it. Okay, so what I'll do is that I'll just cut the closing curly bracket of the else block, and then I will put it here. Okay, and then save. Everything should now work fine. So now let me walk you through it one more time before we test it out. So we have the add contact function. We are obtaining data of first name, last name, phone, and email, which will come from the form inputs. Now we want to find out if none of these is undefined. If any of them is undefined, it will send an alert saying provide data for all fields. But if all of them are defined, then it will check through the contact list to find out if the contact has already been added. So if the contact is already added, it means we cannot go ahead and add it, so we will send this alert. But then if the contact is not already in the contact list, then we can create the new contact, push it to the contact list array, store it to the local storage, send a message indicating a successful addition, and finally redirect to the home page. So now let's test this out. So I'll go to the create, and now I click save. It gives me the feedback that provide data for all fields. So I'll go ahead and create a new user. This time around I'll let the name be the same, Sam. We have Smith. Let's put in some numbers here, and then the email will be smith@gmail.com, like this. So I try to save. It tells me that contact already exists because we have a contact with the same name. Okay, so now I change the Smith by adding an E here. Now there will be a slight difference. Okay, so I just click save. It tells me that contact stored successfully, and when I click OK, it redirects me to the home page, and now the Sam Smith is added here successfully. Okay, so coming up is deleting a contact. Don't go away. Okay guys, so before we can perform the delete, there should be a button we will click in order for the delete function to be triggered. Okay, so let's quickly do this exercise, and afterwards we will add a functionality. So I'll come to the index2.html, and then I'll comment out the script, and then uncomment out this one. Okay, so now let's see what we have. Okay, so we have this one here. What we are going to do is to add a new button at the corner here, which can be clicked, and once we click it, we will be able to perform a delete function. So let's do just that. So after this contact details, I'll create a new container called contact action, and inside the contact action I will bring in two different icons. So let's head on to Font Awesome. come here and type my font awesome icons, and the icon that I'm looking for is the delete. So I'll just type here delete. I'll click on the free, and then I'll select this one. So I'll just click on it to copy it, and then I'll paste it inside here. Then I'll look for another one which will be for the edit. Okay, so I'll come here and say edit, and with the edit I will take this pen here. So I'll click it like this, click to copy the snippet, and I will paste it right here. Okay, so now let's see what we have done so far. So as you can see, we have the icons right here. I want them to appear somewhere here. Okay, so let's do just that. So I'll go into the index2.js. let me just bring it to this side, index2.js, and I'll copy this particular one here, and I'll come here and say position. I'll set a position of this particular element or container to absolute. Now let's see what happens. So as you can see, the icon is here because it has been set to a position of absolute. So I want it to appear on the right, so I'll set the right to, let's say, 10 pixels. Now let's see. Okay, so as you can see, it is outside of the container. Okay, and if we want it to come into the container, then we will have to set the position of the contact item container to relative, so that it will bring the contact action container in it. Okay, so let's do just that. I'll come here and look for the contact item container, and I'll set the position here to relative. Okay, so let's see, and now it is inside. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to set the display to flex and then give some gap inside of it. So let's do just that. I'll come down here and then I'll set display to flex. I'll set gap of 15 pixels. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we have the gap there. So what I'm going to do is that we have to create these two icons inside of the JavaScript. Okay, so let's do just that. In the meantime, I'll comment out the contact item and uncomment out the script. Okay, so let's do just that. So we will go into the index2.js and we will move into the display contact function. Okay, so in here what I'm going to do is that, by the way, let me just walk you through this one real quick. So inside of the index2.js we have a function called display contact, which is responsible of displaying our contact in the web page. Okay, so what is happening here is that we have a container which is the main container inside of the index2.js, which is this one. Okay, and inside this container we at the beginning we set it inner HTML to empty so that it doesn't interfere with anything. Now we want to display the contact list in order of alphabet, so we call the sort method on the contact list, and then we said that sort them according to their name in order of alphabet. Okay, if you want more details, go check out the previous tutorial, it was explicitly explained. Now the next thing is that we mapped through the sorted list, which is the result of this particular function here. We mapped through it, and for every contact in the sorted list we created an element called contact item, which was a div, and then we added a class list of contact item. We created an icon and added class names. We created another div which contains the details of the contact. We created a name element using span. We created a phone element using span, and then we added the name of the contact as the inner text, the phone as the inner text for this one. And after everything, we appended the name and phone to the contact details. We appended the icon and contact details to the contact item, and after everything, we appended the contact item to the contact container. Okay, and after everything, when the window is fully loaded, then we call the display contact and pass in the contact list as argument. So don't forget that in here we pass the contact list as a parameter. So when we are invoking the function, we need to add the contact list as argument. So now what we are going to do is that these two new icons that were added here, we are going to create them using the JavaScript. But before we do that, we will have to create the container. So I'll just copy the class name here like this, and inside here, after I have worked with the name, I will create a new container. So const contact action, that was the name, contact action, action equal to document dot create element, and it was a div. Okay, so we type div here, and after that we will add a class name so that the style can be applied to it. So I'll call the contact action dot class list dot add, and then we will add this one. Okay, now we are done. We go ahead and create the icons. So with the icons, I will just copy the class name. So the first one is the FA solid FA trash. Let's come here. I'll say const delete icon equal to document dot create element into bracket. I want to create an icon, and after that I'll call the delete icon dot class list dot add, and then I'll add this one. Okay, but don't forget that if there shouldn't be a space, okay, each of them should be separated by a comma. So I'll just do this, okay, like this. This one will come as a separate class name, and this one will follow, but then we separate them using a comma, and each of them must come in quotes. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is to create the edit icon. So I'll just duplicate this one and then change the name to edit icon, and then I'll also add the class name. So let me copy the class name real quick, which is FA solid and then FA pen. So I'll come back here, and then I'll say edit icon dot class list dot add into bracket. I'll go ahead and add this one, but then again each of them should be in a separate quote, and they should be separated by commas. Now what I'm going to do is that, let me take it back here. As you can see, we will have to append this and this to the contact action, and then we append the contact action to the contact item. So let's do just that. So I'll come here, and then I will call the contact action, and then after here I'll say append into bracket. I will append the delete icon and the edit icon. So delete icon and then the edit icon like this. Okay, then also I will append the contact action to the contact item. So I'll bring it here, bring the comma and paste it right here. Now everything is okay. So now let's have a look. Yes, so they are all here, right? Very good. So now the next thing we need to do is to get this particular item and then add the functionality to it. Don't go away. Okay guys, so it's now time for us to check whether the icons will work for us. Okay, and the way we can do that is by adding event listener to them. If you try to do it outside of the map method, it might not work because it may not identify which one of the icons are you dealing with. So inside of the map, at least we are dealing with each one of them, and they will be targeted as and when we click them. Okay, so while I'm still inside of the map, I will go ahead and add my event listener. So let me just give some comments here and say add event listener to the icons. Okay, so the first one is going to be the delete icon. So I'll call the delete icon dot add event listener. The event that I'm going to listen to is of course a click event, and when this click event occurs, I just want to create a function that will alert something for me. Okay, so a function that will send in an alert saying contact dot name. Okay, so let's see. Now I'll save this particular code and then come here, and when I click on James Smith, it alerts the James Smith. When I click on the Sam Smith, the Sam Smith also counts. It means that everything works perfectly all right. But then the way we want to delete it is to use the splice method, and the splice method takes two parameters: the index of the item we wish to remove and the count index, which is the number of items starting from the index we just give. Okay, so in view of that, I'll come back up here inside of the contact and I'll add a second parameter called index. Okay, so I'll bring a comma and then I'll bring index. So now that I've added the index as a second argument, or let me say parameter inside of the map method, instead of alerting the name, let me just alert the index, and let's see. Oops, index. And now when I come back here and I click on this one, it has an index of 0 because that is the first one. The second one has an index of 1. Okay, so now that we have added the index as a second parameter, and now that it is showing here when we invited it, then we can use it to delete the contact item from the contact list. So let me just quickly create the delete function. Okay, so I will come up here. Okay, I think I should do it down. Okay, so I'll come here and create a function. So function called delete contact, and the delete contact would take an argument called index. Okay, so the index, and then what I'm going to do is that I'll just call the contact list, which is the array that we created. So the contact list dot, I'll call the splice method on it, and like I said, the splice method takes two parameters. The first one is the index from which we want to begin the deleting from, and the second one is the delete count, and this time around I just want to delete that one, so the index count will be 1, meaning that only that particular contact will be deleted. Okay, so now that I have done that, what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to save the updated contact list. So I'll just call local storage dot set item, and the item name will be contact 1. Okay, it should be contacts 1, and the data that I'm going to store to the contact one will be the updated array. Okay, so I'll come here and call in the JSON dot stringify. Okay, if you don't stringify it, it will not be able to store. Then the contact list. Okay, great. Now after that, I want to reload the page so that the updated list will show. Okay, so I'll come here and say window dot location dot reload. Yeah, and then like this. Okay, great. So let me just walk you through this function for the last time. I have a function called delete contact, and what the delete contact does is that it has a parameter of index which will be passed upon the invocation of this function. And what is happening here is that it will remove it from the contact list using the splice method. So it will take the index, the splice method takes two parameters, the start index and then the delete count. So the start index is the index that will be passed to the delete contact function when invoking it, and the delete count is only one, which is that particular contact with that index will be deleted. After deleting it, I want to store the updated contact list to the local storage, and after that I want to reload the current page. Okay, so that is basically what is going to happen. Now I will want to keep this one up so that it can be called, okay, later. So I'll just come here and paste it here, okay, at the top. Then inside of the display contact, the event listener that I'm adding, I'll just bring it here. I'll just bring an arrow function like this and then call the delete contact, and don't forget that the delete contact takes index as its what do we call it, parameter, therefore it should be supplied as an argument. So what I'm going to do now is that in the meantime, let me just get rid of this thing. Okay, so in here I'm going to use the index, okay, which has been set as a parameter inside of the map method here. Okay, so this index here is the one we pass as argument to the delete contact function. Okay, so now it's time to test it out. So I come here, let me try with the first one. I click, it is gone. Okay, but then someone can click it by mistake, so we have to bring a confirmation. Okay, it must be confirmed before the deletion takes place. Okay, so let's add it right away. So where's the delete contact? Is right here. What I'm going to do is that if into bracket confirm, and the message that I'm going to display is click OK to delete contact. Okay, so if confirm, then I'll go ahead and do everything that I have done here except for the reloading of page, which will happen whether the user confirms it or not. So I'll come with an else which says okay, which says no, I think I should just forget about the else and then put an alert here. So I'll send an alert, an alert which says contact has been deleted. Okay, like this, and then I'll save. Okay, so now let's give it a shot. I would like to delete the Sam Smith, which is the last one. So when I click like this, it gives me the message says click OK to delete contact, and when I click OK, it tells me that the contact has been deleted. When I click OK, the Sam Smith is gone. Okay, let me go ahead and delete Jane Smith, which is this one. I click on it, click OK to delete contact. I click OK, it tells me the contact has been deleted. I click OK and everything is all right. Great. So basically guys, this is how we delete a contact. Coming up is the edit contact. Don't go away. Okay guys, so it's now time for us to add the edit contact functionality. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to create a new function. So immediately under the delete contact function, I will create a new function. So let me just give a comment that says edit contact. Okay, so I'll create a function and call it edit contact. And what I want to do with this contact is that I will take the index as a parameter, and inside this function I will use the prompt dialog to do the update. Okay, so there is this dialog called prompt, just like the alert or the confirm, but this one, it allows the user or the client to type something. Okay, and we will base on the input that the user type to update contact. Okay, so let's do just that. So I'll create a variable called contact, and then using the index I'll fetch it from the contact list. So contact list, and as you already know, we use the square bracket followed by an index. Okay, so this one will fetch the contact with the index upon which we are calling this function. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to create updated version of the data of the contact. So I will create first one, updated name, and set it to prompt. Like I said, prompt is a dialog. Okay, now the prompt takes two parameters. The first parameter will be a label, and the second parameter will be a default value for the input that will come with the prompt. Okay, so the first one I will say edit name, and I will set the default value to the contact.name. Okay, contact.name, like this. Now I will do the same for the email and then the phone. So I'll change this one to email, and I'll change this one to phone. Okay, don't forget to do same for this one. So email here and then phone here. Okay, great. Now the next thing that I'm going to do, where is this thing now? Should be up here. Edit contact. Okay, cool. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to check if the prompt doesn't return null. Now let me quickly give you an example of a prompt. So up here I'll create a prompt. Okay, prompt, and say how are you? Okay, and when I come here, and as you can see, we have the how are you here. In fact, let me just cancel it and then refresh. So okay, let's assume that there is invisible you here. So this is how are you. Okay, now if I click cancel, it will return null. Okay, but then when I click OK, then it will return the characters that have been typed inside of the input. Okay, so basically guys, that is what we are going to do. We are going to check whether the input of this dialog has information, or if the user clicked cancel. Okay, so let's do just that. In the meantime, I'll just get rid of this thing, and inside here what I'm going to do is to bring in some conditions. So I'll say if into bracket updated name is not equal to null. That is when the user clicks OK instead of cancel. Okay, then also I want to check if updated email is also not equal to null. Then I will also want to check if updated phone is also not equal to null. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that If all these conditions are met, it means that the user is serious about updating the contact. Okay, so what I'll do is that I will set the contact, which is this one that has been fetched using the index. So I'll set the contact.name to the updated name. Okay, so updated name. I'll do the same for the phone, to the updated phone, and finally contact dot email will also be the updated email. Okay, now after this, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to update the list in the local storage. So I'll call the local storage dot set item, and the key to this item will be the contacts one, and the value is going to be the JSON dot stringify and the contact list. Okay, because this one will update the current contact item inside of the contact list, so it will be updated. Okay, great. And afterwards, I would like to send an alert which says contact update or updated successfully. Okay, great. Now if the user clicks cancel at any point in time, I want to send an alert which says action reversed. Okay, and then I'll save like this. Now the next thing for me to do is to listen to an event that will trigger the edit contact. Okay, so I'll come inside of the display contact, and then immediately under the delete icon contact, I will call the edit icon, which will be the one to trigger this particular event. Okay, and then I will listen to an event. The event that I wish to listen to is a click event, and once the click event is triggered, I would like to call this function and then pass the index as argument. Okay, great. So now let's see. I come here, let me just go full screen and then click on this edit. You see that the Jon Snow will be passed as a default value to the dialog. Okay, so I'll maintain the Jon Snow like that, and let's say I click cancel for the email. Okay, and then okay, you see that it tells me that the action has been reversed, and the reason is that we say that when the dialog shows, all of them must receive an OK click. Okay, if any of them receives a cancel click, it means that the condition here has not been met, and then the code in the else block will be fired. But then if we click OK for all the three, then we can go ahead and perform our task. So here, let me just quickly change this one to email, and finally phone. Okay, so let's do just that. I'll just click OK. Now I'll click on the Jon Snow again. I would like to add a new name such as 1 like this. I'll click OK. Let me also add one to the distance. Okay, and then let me add 0 and then click OK. So it tells me contact updated successfully, and when I click OK, well, I was supposed to reload the page afterwards, but let me do it manually here. As you can see, we have the 1 added, the 0 also added. Okay, now let me quickly do the reload directly inside of the program. So I'll call the window dot location dot reload and then invoke it like this. Okay, so now let's try again. So now this time around, I would like to remove the 1 and then the 0. So let's do that. I click, it comes like that. I remove the 1, I click OK, I remove this one as well. I click OK, I remove the 0 and then click OK. So it tells me contact updated successfully, and when I click OK, it reloads the page and everything works fine. Now we are the developers of this app. We know how this app should work. What about the person who doesn't know how this app should work? So for example, I click here and then I clear everything out of it and click OK and maintain the rest. Now pay attention, still the contact will be updated successfully, and when I click OK, this one has no name. We must do everything in our capacity to prevent this from happening, and the way we do that is to add more conditions inside of the if. Okay, so here in the if, I'll go ahead and say if I'll say and updated email and updated name and updated phone. Okay, now the new set of conditions that we have added is that the updated email shouldn't be undefined, the updated name shouldn't be undefined, and then the updated phone shouldn't be undefined. Okay, or at least it should have one character. So now let's do just that. So I come back here. Okay, I decide to maintain it like that. I click OK. It tells me that action have been reversed because the name is empty. Okay, but then if I want it to work, then I should provide some data. So let's say this one is Jane Smith, and then hit OK. Contact updated successfully. I hit OK, and now the Jane Smith has been added successfully. So you get it. It is always a good idea to check that. You, the developer, you know how your app will work, but then you have to put yourself in the shoe of your users, because everything is possible. They can just do, some can even try to name it the same one as the one as a name that already exists. I'll leave that one to you as an assignment to check it out, because the video is getting longer than I thought. All right, so thank you very much guys for sticking with me to the very end. I appreciate it very much. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I will leave the link to downloading the source code in the description of this video. Go check it out, and in case you are stuck, don't forget to refer from the code that you download from online. I also have the link to my WhatsApp group in the description. Go check it out and join, and if you have any issue, contact me. I will be more than happy to assist you. Until we meet again, peace out.